Welcome to the Cocktail Spirit from the Small Screen Network. I'm your host, Robert Hess. Now, if you've ever been to a brunch, a Sunday brunch at some restaurant, one of the common drinks you're going to have is a mimosa. A mimosa is simply orange juice and champagne. Extremely simple, extremely easy, delightful brunch type drink. Some restaurants might get kind of fancy and call it a Bucks Fizz instead. But a Bucks Fizz is actually a different drink, even though these days the line gets kind of fuzzy. Originally, the Bucks Fizz was created in the 1920s, supposedly by the barman for Captain Herbert John Buckmaster, and the drink was possibly the precursor to the mimosa, but it was significantly different than mimosa. Let's take a look. We start off with orange juice. I'm going to take 2 ounces of orange juice and add it to this cocktail flute, or champagne flute. To that we add just a dash of cherry brandy. And by a dash, you just want to take the bottle and pour the smallest amount you can. Now we're going to take and add 1/4 of an ounce of Plymouth gin. Now you might kind of think 1/4 of an ounce of gin is not going to make that much difference, but it adds a special character to it. Both it and the cherry brandy add something to it. Now we're going to take and add champagne. Now one of the problems a lot of people have with champagne cocktails is the fact that champagne usually comes in big bottles, and quite often maybe you're not using an awful lot of champagne in the cocktail, so you end up with a bottle that's left over. A very good way of preserving the fizz in a champagne is to take, and once you've opened it up, cork it with one of these nice steel corks. I've seen some of those myths about taking a spoon and sticking it in and saying that's actually going to preserve the champagne. It's not. What's happening with champagne in any carbonated beverage is that the CO2 that adds the carbonation has dissolved into the liquid. As the liquid lowers down, even when it's closed off, and airspace is above it, the carbonation is going to each out of the liquid and come into the airspace above it. So the more airspace, the more open the airspace it is, the more that carbonation is going to come out of it. And so it's very important to take and have a tight cap seal on top of it. If you could take and actually constantly decrease the size of the bottle so it was always just as much as liquid in it, that would really maintain the carbonation. But until that happens, the best way to do it is use one of these bottle tops. You can find them everywhere. We got this one from kegworks.com. So we just open this up and top the glass off. And as you can see, still has plenty of fizz. Add the top back on again just by pushing down, closing in. That grabs the corners of the top of the champagne. Now we're going to take and do an orange twist on the top of it. Again, like I always say, make sure you're doing the twist over top of the drink, because as hopefully you can see, there's little oils that are coming out and lying down on top of the drink that add to the flavor and the character. We can now take our bar spoon, just wrap this around our bar spoon to add hopefully a little interesting curl to it. And there we have the Bucks Fizz, a slightly more characterful version of the mimosa.